All right. I think they're looking at the invite. So yes, it was 1100 UTC. That means that we are officially started and we would kick off. Thank you everybody for joining. Today you will be joined by Arjun, Simon, and yours truly, Erasmus. We're going to be talking a bit about the recently launched Concordium identity app and generally about identity, the Concordium identity, and identity as a topic as a whole, where the industry is at the moment, what kind of developments we're seeing, and how we are aligning to them. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be about 30 minutes of talking here, where we're going to be announcing more about the plan, the identity app. We are going to be explaining a few of the technical features, also talking a bit about the recent launch. And then we're going to be taking like 10, 15 minutes of questions, or some that has already been picked up. And if anybody else has some, just don't hesitate, put them in the sidebar. We can always see if there's more time. Before we do all that, I would just take the opportunity to let Arjun introduce himself, and then I'll follow up and do the same.
Thank you, Erasmus. And hello, everyone. My name is Arjun Yadav, and I am the product manager in Erasmus's team at Concordium, looking after the ID app and also ID Concordium ID layer in general. Been with the team for about 7 months now, and yeah, really excited about joining this space.
And to add to that, Arjun and I, we go quite some time back. We also used to work together at a previous company, working in the same space. So it was a great pleasure to be able to join forces again here at Concordium. My name is Erasmus. I'm the director of product here at Concordium, and overseeing everything that we're doing. I come from a decade in the industry, in the should specify the industry, but in the crypto Web3 world as an entrepreneur, founder, and advisor in various capacities. I'm a sociologist by training and come from that angle, and I find identity and those online topics very fascinating. We're gonna be definitely talking a little bit more about what identity is, how it lines up online, and what kind of products and services we can build from that. With that, we will start with framing where we see the topic as a whole. The recent Concordium Identity app launch was the first time that the Concordium at Concordium, where we have launched I would say a dedicated sort of a suite, an app dedicated to the Concordium identity layer and surfacing that. It's something that we have been thinking about for quite some time. It was and now there was a good moment to seize that opportunity and roll it out, because we see a lot of developments happening around the world and a bigger need for identity services. Concordium as a whole was built on this foundational idea that you are going to need some kind of identity layer also in something like the crypto world. There is a big need for anonymity. There is a big need for people to be able to express themselves in various guises. But in essence, trust online in the real world, no matter where it is, trust between human beings and institutions and so on, it requires some kind of identity layer. And by that we mean that needs to be somebody who can be held accountable for when things don't go right. Otherwise, you're simply not going to have a system that makes sense. In the past, a lot of what we call the Web2 world, or the existing infrastructures, a lot of that relies on revealing yourself, all your basic information, all your personal attributes, because there's simply no other way of doing it. There was no technical way of allowing for that trust to be built in our long past. Trust was built because you knew everybody in the village, and you knew their family and their forefathers and so on, and that's where the trust came from. Now we're working in infrastructures where we have to show our identities in different ways, in more abstract ways, and with people that we don't know necessarily in real life. So a lot of that came down to using government-issued certifications like passports, identity documents, other things like that, where the trust essentially comes from the state's ability to exercise a monopoly on violence and force you to trust these documents. So at its most basic form, that meant that you would enter a service, you would show up with your image, your personal data, and you would hand that over to some kind of centralized institution that would then um, hold that, store it, and use it to build that trust. We've all seen the negative effects of that. Often they're not held in a competent way. We see big breaches. We see generally a sense of lack of privacy. If anybody has worked inside these kinds of institutions, it's quite often that people are people, and they will just take some data from a database and look at it without necessarily having the correct clearance. So there's a lot of issues with that. There's a lot of issues of us as individuals handing over our data and then putting them into these big databases. Web3 has, of course, tried different approaches in various forms, and they have there are a lot of interesting things have happened there. One of the big driving forces of the original wave of cryptocurrencies and blockchain products that was simply just, no, we don't care about identity at all. We want everybody to be anonymous. Um, and the general sort of regulators did not really accept that, of course. It's not acceptable to just have public keys on a network engaging uh, anonymously with each other. So we end up in a scenario where we have a fragmented, rather centralized or compliance-heavy space where privacy is not really treated as a top priority. So what we are doing, and what was really the seed for the whole Concordium project, was that the identity came at the protocol layer. That is unusual in this space, to say the least. It is often considered a little bit of an anti-pattern. In other networks, you would come up with a key pair and simply just with your public key announce your presence on the network, and you would be ready to engage. Concordium has this very sophisticated and private identity layer that means that you will come in and go through a light touch identity verification process before you can create an account on the network. And then behind that is the ability to revoke the privacy that comes, but that has to come through a challenge in the Swiss legal courts and has to go through a due process. With that comes the combination of the Web3 exciting Lego brick approach, modular approach to building a new world of finance and identity. And we combine that with the existing traditional legal structures in a way that is quite elegant and will allow us to get the best of both worlds. Furthermore, now we have this Concordium ID where there's some identity attributes stored alongside a user's account. But we would end up now in a situation where a user would simply expose the same data as they would in a Web2 world. And we just talked about that problem. If you just expose your data directly, then it's not really much gain from simply just digitalizing your government-issued certificate and then still revealing the same data. So this is where zero-knowledge proofs come in, and alongside the Concordium ID, combining that with some strong CKPs, zero-knowledge proofs, and we give users the ability to prove attributes that are derived from the government issued certificates or documents, such as age is a key one, residency, and so on, without exposing the full underlying data. So that means we end up in a situation where I, as a user, can start proving statements about myself. I am over 18. I do not have a North Korean citizenship, and so on, without having to reveal the data itself. And that's very powerful. We get privacy, and at the same time, those people who need these kind of proofs, they can actually satisfy themselves that it is true. So that is sort of at its core what we are trying to build here. The Concordium identity app is the first step in that direction. It is the rudimentary first version launch of that product, but it's one that really shows the direction in which we want to take this. Some of the core features that we have there and the Concordium identity system as a whole relates to, as I mentioned, age verification, something around the ability to do portable compliance checks and portable identity, which means that you will be able to use this identity across different services, institutions, and gives you a very powerful way of sort of taking your account with you, taking your identity with you as you traverse the internet and various services. It's designed really with the privacy in mind. You'll see later today when we talk about some of the questions that came up, you'll see that because we designed for privacy, of course, that also limits some of the things that you can do. But when we have to make a decision, which we do, every design is a trade-off, and we take very seriously the privacy of the system, and we start there. And that's why sometimes a feature that might seem obvious that we should implement, it actually turns out that that's more difficult. But that's done because we spend so much energy on keeping everything as private as possible. Finally, it's about also empowering the users to hold and own their identity and expose it in situations when they have where they have approved it. And essentially, the only way you can build a system that people will feel comfortable using when it comes to their own personal identity is something where you empower the users, where you give them the control to say, yes, I want to share this information here. No, I don't want to share it here, and I want to revoke this access here. So that's another design principle that we've been following. Now, specifically regarding the Concordium identity app, we might just give like a brief word on the adoption, how we are going forward with it, and with that, I would hand over to Arjun to talk a little bit about where we are, what we're looking at in terms of the ecosystem and the integration partners that we're looking at going forward, and the ways of integrating. Arjun, do you want to say a few words on that? Arjun, are you? Yeah, it seems like we have a bit of a sound issue. Okay. Let me let's give him a second to just figure out what's going on over there. Thanks for the heads up. Mainly, what Arjun would have been talking about, the original spark of creation. Yeah, please reconnect, and we can get you back in. Hopefully that will work. Um, The original spark for creating the Concordium Identity app as a standalone service was that we encountered some issues with getting CCDs integrated into third-party wallets. That was a very pragmatic problem we were facing, and we wanted to find a way to alleviate some of the integration costs that it would take for third-party services to integrate Concordium. So we have now two wallets coming up who have actually done this in integrated Concordium in two different ways. Coin98 will be launched fairly soon. I think the last details there are just being ironed out. They are going to be relying on the Concordium Identity app for the integration, which means that all the complexity of integrating Concordium has been moved over to a separate app that they don't have to, so they don't have to bother with it. The only thing they need to be concerned about is integrating an SDK and then calling up an API that will talk to the identity app. So that means the separation of concerns. That means less implementation overhead for the third-party wallets. It means that just simply easier. I mean, it's different between spending 3-4 weeks on integration compared to months. So we are very happy with that. We have more wallets in the pipeline that we are in talks with. Who's going to integrate? Just simply easier for them. So based on this, just an easier way of integrating has made it a lot easier for us to distribute CCDs the places where people already are in the Web3 world. Tafel have built the full integration themselves from the ground up, and it's a multi-chain wallet, and they simply build it as from scratch themselves. This was before the SDK and the app was available, and they went down that route. So now we have two reference implementations for the two different ways of engaging with the Concordium ID. So that's also been very interesting to see from the sidelines. There, we are of course helping out these companies with if they have any technical questions, and it's been very interesting. The Coin98, when they have to integrate with when you open a Concordium account on Coin98, you would have to also download the Concordium Identity app, and that's where you would do the account creation. So that means, yes, there will be more onboarding friction in that regard, but at the same time, this identity app is going to be used in many different for many different things in many different use cases. Right now, it's mainly focused around being a tool for third-party wallets to integrate, but in the future, it will have the capacity to do age checks in an online context. I mean, also in a physical context, but it's going to be for online websites. We will online services. We will for sure return to that topic later on. And it's also if there's multiple wallets where Concordium is integrating, it's going to make more and more sense for you as a user to download this app. Simply because it will have several different utilities for you as a user. The stateful integration is straightforward. There it handles everything. You will go through the initial Concordium identity check in their interface, essentially, and that would be more of a classic. If any users here have tried the CryptoX, it would be more akin to some of the existing Concordium wallets. We continue to invest in an SDK. That's going to be an absolute key component to it. So the identity app will always play together with an SDK. We are picking the right languages in which that SDK should be written to make sure that we hit the right targets. So any feedback you have on that is most welcome. So going forward, and also just checking time here, I really want to get to the questions soon. So maybe I'll just cover two more points and then hand over to the questions. Also, I see there's some discussions in the sidebar. We'll get to them. So So bear with me. Um, why are we launching the app now? I think that's an important point to make here. As I mentioned, we have been looking into this for a long time. We have been talking about this for a long time, and now we really see the momentum behind it. We saw a change of leadership in the company, and we also saw a strategic direction towards stablecoin issuance, and with that also comes an identity play. You need identity in the modern financial world, be it crypto, be it traditional finance, and this identity app becomes a venue, an interface that we can where we can really enhance that user experience. Um, the first thing that we also saw, which has validated our ideas, was the introduction of the Online Safety Act in the UK. Suddenly, when people have to access vice websites, adult websites, they have to go through an age verification check in the UK. That has of course introduced a lot of brouhaha in the UK and a lot of frustrated people. This identity app here, let me prefix this by saying you could expect that users of these services would do this repeatedly. They would have to come back again and again and do these kind of age verification checks, and it's going to become a very, very frustrating experience for them. What this identity app will do, yes, there will be some initial friction where you have to create your account by going through an identity check with one of the Concordium IDPs, but then after that, you essentially have like a two-factor authentication for your identity. So you go in, you scan the QR code, and then you swipe something on your phone, and then you're in. And the whole thing is, again, designed with privacy in mind, so you can rely on the fact that nobody can actually trace who you are or see where you are using this identity. So that is I believe, a very strong play in this space, and I think there's a big need for it. So I think even just that on its own proves like really there's a big market need that we can service here. Then beyond that, we're also looking at the social media platforms are requiring age verification. In Denmark here, we had a court case where TikTok was sued because they weren't doing enough age assurance checks on their platforms. And also we see AML, KYC frameworks like the MiCA in the Eurozone that just, I mean, if you're doing any exchange of crypto from any transfer of crypto from your exchange these days, you know that there will be a bunch of questions asked of you as you try to transfer them, and streamlining those kind of checks and streamlining also post factum audits. It's going to be a very valuable tool. So there's a ton of things happening in the space. There's a lot of more attention from the regulators. And every time you see a new regulation introduced, that essentially also means there's a new market need. So a lot of interesting things happening, and all of this, the whole point of why we're doing this at the Concordium, we of course have a mandate from the Concordium Foundation to build the absolute best protocol network we can. And the whole point of doing this is that when we start exposing the Concordium ID and making it more useful, then we also get more people who are likely to come and become users on the Concordium network itself. Because if you're already there, you have an identity, and you can basically, with a click of a button, create a Concordium account as well. You can then also start doing transfers with the stablecoins on Concordium, or use other services on the Concordium network that are there or will come. So a lot of exciting things. It's great to see the Concordium identity get a dedicated place to live and really expose all the utilities and all the benefits that we can produce with it. A brief note on the roadmap and where we're going to go with this. I already alluded to some of this. We are as a product person, you always live in a very interesting space, right? You wanna launch something that is perfection, I think most creators have that feeling, and at the same time, you also want to do it before the product becomes irrelevant. Um, with this app, we have very on purpose taken the approach of that we are going to release early and we are going to release often. So it's incredibly exciting to be live with the app, but we also appreciate that there's a lot of things to fix right now because it's going to be used in a very specific context, and the features we have are going to absolutely in a safe way meet those needs. Um, but we still know there's a ton of stuff to do on the user experience, for example, a lot of other things. So expect the next release to come, I think, mid next week. And from there, we are basically, with every iteration cycle we have over here, we're going to do a new release, and there's going to be a lot of cool stuff happening. Um, we are looking then that this first version here is mainly focused around account creation for third-party wallets, as mentioned. Um, and it's a we're now looking at a um, next version already. We of course need to have that in mind already. Um, Arjun, just let me know if you can speak at some point. I hope you just start talking. um, Version 2 is going to be focusing around the onboarding experience in the identity app. We are finding a way of not having to do all the seed phrases, all the repeat codes, and all these kind of things. We're going to make it much, much easier to get onboarded and to use the accounts. I think that's very important. And we're going to integrate the sophisticated CK proofs for these age-checked use cases that we're talking about. Then we are looking also towards a version 3 of the identity app, where we are going to be designing for privacy-first user experience. And we're going to get ready for verify and pay, which is something that you will probably hear more about in some talks going forward. The privacy first user experience is super important because one thing is to design something for privacy, but if you don't show and you don't make people feel like it's actually private, then it's no good, right? So we are looking at the apps like DuckDuckGo, Signal, Bitwarden, other privacy like the incognito features of browsers, and we're taking all those design lessons that they have for us, and we are going to be implementing them in the app. Um, Now, finally, the long-term vision with all of this is to, one, start exposing the Concordium identity, making it more useful, letting it find its like really show its utility in the world and find its market. It's going to very soon start combining in with the payments of these protocol level tokens, which are tokens on the Concordium network that we are going to be launching very soon with the next protocol update. And these are going to be mainly catering to stablecoins for now, and we're also going to be finding other use cases for these PLTs. But we're going to be combining that with the Concordium ID to, for example, do age-gated payments. So you only want to take payments from somebody who's, say, based in the UK, and they're also over 21. You can then start constructing these kind of gateways and combine them with a transactional Concordium network. From there, we have a lot of ideas and a lot of directions we can take this identity suite. Portable compliance is definitely a topic. Also, certifications,
Hi, am
social
I audible
proofs,
now?
verifiable credentials. Yes, sir. I can hear you at
Hmm.
least. So I think there's a
I
big yes in
don't
the
seem to
sidebar as
hear
well.
you.
So, oh God. Well, you made it half the way, so I can just text you text you and tell you what's being said. Um, so all right, listen, I don't want to hold us back. There was a ton of questions. Are there any, Simon, any from the sidebar that we should talk about? Okay, I will. I'll pick a few from the sidebar because I think these also match with some that came up previously. Um, Oxford 6920, was that what the MM talked against? MM? Could you just elaborate on who MM is or what MM is? Mike. Um, yeah, maybe you could clarify that question while
Erasmus
I
and
answer
Arjun.
the other two.
Am I audible
Arjun,
now?
I can hear you for sure.
Perfect. Thank you. I can also hear you now. And is it all right?
Great.
It's I'm on mobile.
Welcome.
Oh,
Arjun, can I
wow,
just
wow.
answer this question? Arjun,
Yes.
can I just answer this question? Then I'll hand over to you to take a few of the other questions. Yes, Oxford, you need another set of seeds, and absolutely there is it's an adoption friction for sure. There's just no way around it. If we want to build a private system that works with this Concordium identity layer, there is no way around it. So you always have this question when you're designing products, right? You have a user, then you have a wall that some kind of action needs to be taken, and then you have a benefit on the other side of that wall. As a product person, I cannot really change users. People are people, they're great, and they have their needs, they have their requirements. Then we have a wall in the middle. That's the product, right? That's the service. Like how frictionless can you make it? So you can either make that wall very, very tall, or you can make it as small as you can, right? You can invest a lot in that. To some degree, you cannot, at some point, you just cannot get the wall smaller. And then there's the other side of it, like that is how much benefit are you then, perceived benefit are you then providing on the other side of that wall? And the willingness for a user to climb over a wall is dependent on the perceived benefit and what's on the other side of that wall. So we will be offering some awesome benefits inside that identity app that will justify and will make it sensible for people to download that app, right? The first step, of course, if you're a Coin98 user, you'll just have to do it if you want to keep your Concordium, your CCD in that wallet. So that would be a straight up need. We're also talking to additional third-party wallets, and if some of them come through, then I think it's going to be quite obvious for people to do this. But then you have to remember that this identity app will be used for more things, right? So remember, you can also start using this for identity check for identity attribute checks online. It will start becoming an access gateway. It will start becoming something that you can use in many different contexts. And at that point, yes, you will have to go through some additional friction, but the way that we mitigate that adoption friction or adoption negative impact on adoption is that we will be providing a lot of good benefits inside the wallet. Now, with that, we have like 5 minutes left, and I'll let Arjun just pick up some of the questions.
Thank you. I'm dying to speak after this horrendous situation with Discord and my audio. But yeah, glad I'm back. So the next question we want to get to, Erasmus, can you just point me to the question we're at? I just lost a bit of the order.
If you tell me what you want to answer, then I can tell you if it's already been answered.
Different IDPs, difference between the Coin98 implementation versus SAFL. Have all of these been talked about?
That we talked about, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe we can maybe talk a little bit about the difference between CryptoX and the identity app.
Yeah, and I also just to extend a little bit of the previous question, right? So at the moment, the ID app's core functionality is to allow users from different third-party multi-chain wallets, for example, Coin98 and others that are coming up, to create a Concordium account. And the third-party wallets either have the option to integrate the whole Concordium suite, which is how SAFL has done it, or put all of that responsibility to the SDK on the ID app, which is how Coin98 has done it. And as Erasmus already said, in the future versions, when we start focusing on the attribute-based verify and access kind of use cases, which are more Web2 focused, that's when we will surely be improving the onboarding, making it much simpler, and try and abstract away the crypto and the Web3 native side of things.
Yeah.
All right. So then there's, have we talked about the what Coin98 users need to do? The difference between CryptoX is the one you were alluding to just now?
Yeah, I think, I mean, it may be obvious to most of the audience here, but I think it might just be worth mentioning, right? The difference between CryptoX and the Concordium identity app. I think it's, in a nutshell, it's just to say there will be no transaction signing, sort of value transaction signing in the identity app. So there's no funds. It's not going to be tokens. It's going to be focusing on the identity layer itself. And sorry for jumping in, Arjun, but I saw this question come up now again in the sidebar, where the question is whether you can take the an account, a Concordium account has been generated elsewhere, and then import that into the identity app. And I think it's just important that we address that here.
Yeah. So the answer.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, please.
Yeah, so technically you can. It's not going to stop you because it's essentially importing a seed phrase cryptographically. There's no reason why it wouldn't work, but we really don't recommend it because the whole point of separating out concerns between having your ID and your funds separated. So in the context of Coin98, you can keep your CCDs and PLTs on your account wallet and have the ID app taking care of the ID side. So in that context, we really don't recommend you to do that and therefore create a separate account /seed for the ID app.
And yeah, it's a little bit, it's again, it's done on purpose, right? And the keys, it gets a little technical very quickly. Just post a link to the docs here, but it sort of depends on where you live on the key derivation tree. And we on purpose wanted to create something that was a bit more isolated. So those keys that would be able to do the identity, handle the identity, manage the identities inside the identity app, would not also be the ones that could be used to sign transactions. And that really is a design decision on purpose, because we want to make sure that, like, the security model you can build around or you should build around a wallet that can really hold a lot of value to people it's a little different than what you would expect from one that quote unquote only holds identity. So, for example, on the identity app, we would be absolutely we're looking at integrating something like a cloud backup of your keys, where our security models on the self-custodial wallets like CryptoX are very different, right? We don't want to compromise anything over there. We really want to emphasize that people should be using like backing up their seed phrases and so on. So it's a slightly different approaches we take. It's also just about keeping it clear, it's like clean, and also about not leaking private information on chain. So because of that, we really don't encourage people to import the seed phrases from, say, something like CryptoX or or something like Safel, but really do separate it into two distinct systems and two distinct profiles, so to speak.
Exactly. And just there's another question about a bit of probing on the Web2 topic. So as an example, we can think of a normal user trying to use social media, and at some point they have to prove that they're above 18. And in order to do that, they would probably just have a Web2 account, let's say a Google or something else, a Facebook, well, that's again social media, and be able to log into an app quite simply, do a age verification like they would do, not have to manage the whole seeds and all of that, and then be able to verify themselves in a single click to prove that they're above 18. And with that app, then they can also verify on multiple other places So that would justify why they would be okay to download an app, because just for a single website access, it's probably going to be a hard sell. So yeah, it's about having a single app for all ID verification needs across the internet even.
And another question came up, which I find too interesting to let go. Thanks, Oxford. So Concordium, it's again we are an operation that has gotten the mandate from a foundation to make the best network we possibly can. The reason why we're investing our time and energy and efforts into this identity app is because if the Concordium identity on its own will have a lot of utility for a lot of people, then there is an opportunity for them to be exposed and convert into becoming full Concordium users. That is one approach, right? So this is if you look at it from the money making or the network utility bringing perspective, it's simply a matter of when you have that Concordium identity, you're like halfway into becoming a Concordium user, and the ability to then also use stablecoins, for example, or find that you like find additional value in that. I think are obvious. So that's one angle to it. And there's also going to be another service which is going to be running, which is that these when these age checks start happening, and this is one of the conversations that we are having with the Ofcom, is that we are looking into creating an audit trail, a private audit trail where encrypted digests of these proof events are put on chain to make sure that that anybody post factum can prove that a certain event has taken place. Say somebody says a regulator comes to a website and says you did not do the appropriate checks, they can that service, that operator would then be able to point directly to the proof and then be able to with special access keys that only they have, be able to sort of demonstrate that a certain check has taken place. Again, without revealing the actual underlying data, but just be able to say, look, cryptographically, this was proven from a government issued document. Again, not being specific about the document itself, but just saying like this, you can trust that this has happened, right? So that's going to be a way of de-risking and making sure you stay compliant as a web service operator, who I need to stay compliant with these new regulations, and that would be another way of capturing some of the value on the network. Okay. There's too much good stuff happening in the sidebar. I cannot both talk and read.
I think there's one point about really thinking of incentives as a new app would, and that's certainly something we're thinking about already. And some ideas of what we could do later down the line, which are all really good feedback, and we will consider them.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. So like the world coin engagement, the way of doing it, incentivizing users, right? And like I said, it's all about that wall and the perceived benefit on the other side of that wall, right? So people are willing to go to get their iris scanned and with an orb because there's an expectation that they'll get an airdrop. I would also claim that if you are going to access some of these websites on a regular basis and you're getting fed up with having to go through a face scan every time you want to access an adult website, there might also be a lot of incentive for you to download something that is more robust, that actually allows you to not have to go through that embarrassment every time. So incentives can come in many forms, and we are definitely thinking about that as we start designing the next version releases. And JRocket, for later down the line, a link to CryptoX from the Identity app. Yes. No. So, J-Rocket, that was exactly what I was talking about. So the idea is that when we start having people using the identity wallet, identity app, sorry, of course, it makes sense that there will be some easy way for them to take their existing account and then upgrade it into something. It might not be CryptoX, to be honest. It might be, it might not be, but it will just be that they will get what we call an account wallet, like something I can actually sign transactions. And of course, the whole point is that because the identity app infrastructure is something that we have control over, we can then start introducing these kind of things. And a button, you could imagine a button that says, "Yes, I also want to start paying with a UK stable token," right? And then you hit a button, and then you have to do a one-time top up over in another interface, by the way. But now those two interfaces are connected, so we're exactly thinking in that direction.
And as much as I'm enjoying this discussion and questions, we have to wrap up, Erasmus. Before that,
I was just getting warm. I just warmed up.
Well, you and me both. You and me both.
well, you just came online now, so
exactly. Imagine my plight. But I really want to take this opportunity to thank the community here, especially with all the great feedback we've been getting over the last couple of days since we've launched the ID app. We've got some really good feedback in terms of people or community members resonating with the vision of the app, and some really specific feedback on the app itself. With this overwhelming response, we've also started a plan to do some community testing for future releases, and I think that's going to have a lot of value there. Keep that coming. And if I'm or Erasmus or we're just a little late to respond, we will come back to you. And it's all your feedback does not go unnoticed.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Yes, sorry, but there's so many good questions, man. I'm so sorry to have to leave it, but I also have to go and make these things happen. I have to go and attend to the team now. Community testing, JRocket already passed that on. There's probably going to come some cool stuff up on that in the not too distant future. We want to get the community involved. It's so helpful for us. And I just want to say the final thing. Please keep your feedback coming. Like every time you give us some feedback, criticism, whatever, it's like you're giving us a present. That's the only way we can build these things as robust as possible. We are going to get a lot of releases coming out. It's going to be very exciting. And thank you all for joining. Have a good day.
Thank you so much.